Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. I am Cedric and today we are going to talk about, of course, another beer. A beer that when I saw the bottle at the store I thought it was American, but it turns out to be kind of Dutch, kind of Finnish and kind of Belgian. But that will all become clear in a moment when I tell you guys the story. It is also a serious mouthful because we are talking about the tree-hugging, wood-chopping, Mother Nature-loving IPA by the Flying Dutchman NoMad Brewing Company. The name of the beer as well as the brewery are quite the mouthful, but there is a reason behind all of that. Now, it all starts with Ronald de Waal. Ronald de Waal is a brewer who has been active for nearly 35 years. Yeah, almost 40 even. Ronald is Dutch and he used to study food technology in Holland. And that's where he picked up a certain love for brewing amongst other things. Because he did an internship at Brewery De Raaf in Heumen in Holland. Brewery De Raaf isn't well known anymore because in 1991 they sold everything to Oranjeboom, and in 1994 I believe Oranjeboom was sold to back then Interbrew, or AB InBev for now, and they closed down De Raaf and moved the production of those beers. You might know De Raaf from being the first brewery that developed a wheat beer in Holland in 1987. But apart from that, we don't know that much about it anymore. Of course, back to Ronald de Waal. Ronald met a lovely young lady, but apparently she was Finnish and he followed her to Finland. So he moved to Finland for love, and apparently brewing wasn't that big in Finland, so he couldn't really find a job with his degree and his experience. Luckily, he was a good-looking guy, and I'll put a picture up somewhere here. He already had that long wavy hair, and he found a job at an amusement park as a mermaid. So entertaining customers. That was 1990 or the early 90s. But of course, Ronald is a brewer by heart and not a mermaid. So he misses beer, he missed brewing, and again he started developing recipes. Now there aren't that many breweries in Finland back in the 90s. So he sent the recipes to Holland, back to his old brewery De Raaf and Brouwerij De Hemel. He had them brew the beer, then ship it back, and apparently he did something right because it became quite popular. That was 1994. Then in 1997 he finally found a job working for a small craft brewer in Espoo in Finland. At the time he was developing new recipes, as he did before for his own beer and for the other breweries. But Ronald starts thinking, why don't I just do this by myself, for myself? And he founds Diamond Beer Brewing Company. This time he's looking at Belgium to brew his beer. So Diamond Beer Brewing Company sends recipes to Belgium, they ship it to Finland, and while he's importing anyway, he starts importing several hundreds of other beers from all over the world to Finland and starts distributing in Scandinavia. A bunch of years go by, and in 2008 Diamond Beer Brewing is sold and Ronald starts working as a business developer for the next 2 years. Needless to say, a free-spirited guy as Ronald de Waal wasn't too happy in corporate life. So 2 years later he gives that up, and somewhere in 2011 he just gets into a camper and starts traveling. He travels all of Europe, a part of North Africa, and whenever he gets the chance he brews wherever he is. Again, a success story. And that catches many people's attention. So in 2015, eventually, being the NoMad brewer that he is, Ronald starts the Flying Dutchman NoMad Brewing Co. Of course, I don't have to tell you what that stands for. He's the Flying Dutchman because he goes anywhere he wants to be. Also, the Flying Dutchman was a ghost ship that kept resurfacing, just like Ronald. And NoMad Brewing Co., well, of course he's a nomad living in his van, or no, quite a decent camper actually. Not to be confused with NoMad Brewing Co. from, is it Australia or New Zealand? They don't have anything to do with each other. The Flying Dutchman has a bunch of beers. They have some stouts and porters, some IPAs, also some seasonal brews, but today we are going to talk about one of the IPAs, namely the tree-hugging, wood-chopping, Mother Nature-loving IPA. Now, I've already talked about the Dutch part and the Finnish part, but what do I mean when I say it is partly Belgian as well? Well, just like with Diamond Beer Brewing Company, Ronald still comes to Belgium to get a bunch of the beers brewed. As it says here on the label, produced by the Flying Dutchman Brewing Co. in Finland, but brewed at Proefbrouwerij in Locristi. We've already talked about the Proefbrouwerij, somewhere up here, the flower beer from the brewer's brother. I promise you they do make good beers as well. And country of origin, Belgium. So this is, for all intents and purposes, a Belgian beer. Even though it is produced by a Finnish brewery, beer company, by a Dutch brewer. Anywho, this contains malted barley, and it doesn't say anything else. Cool. Now this is an IPA and it is brewed with Centennial, Citra and Mosaic hops. So knowing these hops a little bit, I would expect a very, very, very fruity, quite citrusy, slightly sharp taste. So a flavor palette somewhere around the fruits and the citrus fruits mainly. But this beer is also matured with American oak chips. American, we haven't mentioned that in this beer. American oak chips, meaning, well, it's not aged in oak barrels. Oak chips have a more surface area, so it gets into the beer a bit quicker. I don't know if they're smoked American oak chips. I don't think so, but we'll taste that in a minute. And when I hear oak, I expect a bit of dryness, a bit of vanilla flavor maybe. So I'm actually very, very, very curious. I have high hopes for this beer. So without further ado, let's have a taste. If I just find my can opener here somewhere. Here I have it. Myself a nice clean glass. Unfortunately not a branded bottle cap, but oh well. I do love this this label, by the way. It has that old 70s, 80s brewery vibe, American. Makes me think of Cheers actually. Oh, that's way more tropical than I expected. But indeed very fruity and citrusy. A bit of carbonation, not that much. I do smell the citra, but that is of course a very dominant hop, a very dominant flavor, especially when used for dry hopping. It's very edgy. But I also smell some sweetness, maybe some yellow fruits. I also see a bit of yeast sticking to the sides. Of course, it was laying down in the fridge, and I only took it out of the fridge like a half an hour ago, so there is still some residue here. Also, quite a bit of residue inside the bottle. So I'm gonna be very careful pouring this last bit. There we go. As my teacher Hans used to say, leave the last centimeter in. I'm a bit surprised at first glance by the color, because I expected it to be paler, but of course then I didn't keep in mind that it is matured with the oak chips, and that does color your beer quite a bit. So I'd say this color is quite orangey, leaning towards amber, orange gold. It's like a beautiful sunset, and quite hazy. Here at the bottom where the glass is way narrower, I see like the clear bit, and the veil of yeast actually follows the shape of the glass, which is a beautiful effect. Very tiny bubbles, not many sticking to the glass, which is a good thing. Some nice, slightly off-white foam, mixed bubbles. Same aroma as in the bottle, but way stronger, way more. A bit more tropical. So yeah, a bit of mango there. And some citrus. It's more like orange and grapefruit. So let's have a sip. Cheers. Oh, that's nice. Wow. That is a very pleasant surprise. Well, it tastes as it smells, but there's some more components in there. Slightly boozy for a 6%er. Very, very nice. As you guys know, I love the rather dry beers, and this has a very, very, very dry, slightly bitter aftertaste, which I absolutely love. I don't get the vanilla hints that I expected from the oak chips, also not smoked, but I do get some pine here. Yeah, quite resinous, some pine cones. Tastes like a walk in the forest. This is actually a very well balanced, well rounded, lovely beer, and I actually understand why they won this many awards. The Flying Dutchman in itself won dozens of awards, but this beer won, I believe, 6 awards at the 2016 and 17 London beer contests. There's more than one. This is a very well balanced beer between a slightly sweet edge. There's not much sweetness in there, so not much leftover sugar from the brewing process, but it is quite bitter. So this perfectly combines the hop bitterness and the aromas, which I love. But mainly that aftertaste. Jesus Christ, absolutely lovely. Honestly, I'm not the biggest IPA fan in the world, and I do have a friend who we call the IPA snob. He's more of a fan of the New England fruity IPAs. If we're drinking IPAs, I would definitely go for IPAs like this one. I love dry hop beers like a Duvel triple hop Cashmere, which we're gonna talk about in probably in a few months, not during winter time. But this is absolutely lovely, very, very pleasantly surprised. And this motivates me to check out the other beers from the Flying Dutchman. Okay. So, the Flying Dutchman, a brewing company, or NoMad brewing company, will definitely be featured on this channel again. Ronald, if you see this, don't mind sending me the beers over, because they aren't the cheapest. The price is another reason why I thought it was American. Anywho, guys, I'm gonna leave it at that. As I said quite often, if you get the chance to pick one of these up, absolutely do so, have a taste. I'd say combine this with spicy foods, with marinated meats, with barbecue marinade meat with rosemary, thyme, Provençal, and then have this beer with it. An absolutely added value to strong flavors. Not so much for dessert. Again, as usual, if you like this video, let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Comment down below. I actually do read all the comments, and I try to answer all of them if I get the chance. I haven't forgotten about you. I know you think these videos are a bit long to your taste, but I'm not changing anything except for one detail. I will do you a solid, and I will start using markers in the videos, so you can immediately skip to the tasting part and you don't have to sit through the whole history and brewery shenanigans. And Mr. Kobe Bryant, I promised you I would score more beers. Not being an IPA lover and absolutely loving this, it even reminds me of Orval a little bit. I would say I'd give this an 8 out of 10. Yeah, solid 4 out of 5 on Untapped. Oh, by the way, also follow me on Untapped. I am reviving that app. Haven't used that much, or not as much as I should. But find me there, Belgian Beer Brothers, and I will be uploading these beers with the thumbnail of the video, so you will recognize it. Cheers, you guys. I'm gonna savor this, and I will see you guys in the next video, which will be on Wednesday. Goodbye.